Genuinely, no idea what happened there. Um, if you're enjoying this, great. I'm gonna use the streams to keep track of what I'm reading. I'm using the streams to keep track of what I'm reading. Oh, damn. I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Soda stuck to your hand when you passed it along the shelves. How often he had stained and varnished it, and painted it too. Patches of the netting were clogged, and varnished, and paint had made a thick, uneven skin on the woodwork. And in what colours he had painted it, blue and green and even black. In 1938, in 1938, the week the Pope died and the Sentinel came out with the black border, he had come across a large tin of yellow paint and painted everything yellow, even the typewriter. That he had that had been acquired when, at the age of 33, he had decided to become rich by writing for American and English magazines. A brief, happy, hopeful period. The typewriter had remained idle and yellow, and its colour had long since ceased to startle. And why, except that it had been moved everywhere with them, and they regarded it as one of their possessions, had they kept their hat rack. Its glass now leprous, most of its hooks broken, its woodwork ugly. The bookcase had been made at Short Hills by an out-of-work blacksmith who had been employed by the Tulsies at a cabinet maker. He revealed his skill in his original craft in every bit of wood he had fashioned, every joint he made, every ornament he had attempted. And the dining table, bought cheaply from a deserving destitute who had got some money from the Sentinel's Deserving Destitutes Fund and wished to show his gratitude to Mr. Biswas. And the slumberking bed, where he could no longer sleep because it was upstairs and had been forbidden to climb steps. And the glass cabinet, bought to please Sharma, still dainty and still practically empty. The Morris suite, the last acquisition, it had belonged to the solicitor's clerk, and had been left by him as a gift, and in the garage outside, the prefect. But bigger than them all was the house, his house. How terrible it would have been at this time to be without it, to have died among the Tulsis amid the squalor of that large, disintegrating, and indifferent family, to have left Sharma and the children among them in one room, worse to have lived without even attempting to lay claim to one's portion of the earth, to have lived and died as one had been born, unnecessary and unaccommodated. Okay, so he sees himself as unnecessary and unaccommodated. Okay. Part 1. He was stoic about that situation. Okay. Part 1, Chapter 1, Pastoral. Shortly before he born, there had been a Mr. Biswas's and a school, and Bipti had taken him and walked all the son to the village where her mother there the old story uh, how he kept a check on every cent he gave her, counted every biscuit in the tin, and how he would walk 10 miles rather than pay a cart a penny. Bipti's father, futile with asthma, propped himself up on his string bed and said, as he always did on unhappy occasions, "Fate, there is nothing we can do about it." No one paid him any attention. Fate had brought him from India to the sugar estate, aged him quickly, and left him to die in a crumbling mud hut in the swamplands. Yet he spoke of fate often and affectionately, as though, merely by surviving, he had been particularly favoured. While the old man talked on, Basundai sent for the midwife, made a meal for Bipti's children, and prepared beds for them. When the midwife came, the children were asleep. Some time later, they were awakened by the screams of Mr. Biswas and the shrieks of the midwife. "What is it?" the old man asked. "Boy or girl?" "Boy, boy," the midwife cried. "What sort of boy? 6-fingered and born in the wrong way?" The old man groaned, and Basundai said, "I knew it. There is no luck for me." At once, though it was night and the way was lonely, she left the hut and walked to the next village, where there was a hedge of cactus. She brought back leaves of the cactus, cut them into strips, and hung a strip over every door, every window, every aperture through which an evil spirit might enter the hut. But the midwife said, "Whatever you do, this boy will eat up his own mother and father." Okay. Kinda worked on the mother there. The next morning, when in the bright light it seemed that all evil spirits had surely left the earth, the pundit came, a small thin man with a sharp satirical face and a dismissing manner. Basundai seated him on the string bed, from which the old man had been turned out, and told him what had happened. Born in the wrong way. At midnight, you said. Basundai had no means of telling the time, but both she and the midwife had assumed that it was midnight, the inauspicious hour. Abruptly, as Basundai's okay, so like they don't even know if it was midnight, but they're doing it. Abruptly, as Basundai sat before him with bowed and covered head, the pundit brightened. "Oh well, it doesn't matter. There are always ways and means of getting over these unhappy things." He undid his red bundle and took out his astrological almanac, a sheaf of loose thick leaves, long and narrow between boards. The leaves were brown with age. Their musty smell was mixed with that of the red ochre sandalwood paste that had been splattered on them. The pundit lifted a leaf, read a little, wet his fingers on his tongue, and lifted another leaf. At last, he said, "First of all, the features of this unfortunate boy. He will have good teeth, but they will be rather wide, and there will be spaces between them. I suppose you know what that means. The boy will be a leech, a spendthrift as well." Okay, so he's saying that teeth are all wide. Alright, okay. Probably a liar as well. It is hard to be sure about those gaps between the teeth. They might mean only one thing. The only thing I can advise is to keep him away from trees and water, particularly water. Never bath him. I don't mean exactly that. He raised his right hand, bunched the fingers, and, with his head on one side, said slowly, "One has to interpret what the book says." He tapped the wobbly almanac with his left hand. "And when the book says water, I think it means water in its natural form. Natural form? Natural form, the pundit repeated, but uncertainly. I mean, he said quickly, and with some annoyance. Keep him away from rivers and ponds, and of course the sea. And another thing, he added with satisfaction. He will have an unlucky sneeze. He began to pack the leaves of his almanac. Okay, so we've got 6 fingers for water, unlucky sneeze, and white teeth, which is either lying or spendthrift or... Okay, we kind of get it. The pundit repeated, but uncertainly. I mean, he said quickly. Okay, wait. He began to pack the long leaves of his almanac. Much of the evil this boy will undoubtedly bring will be mitigated if his father is forbidden to see him for 21 days. That will be easy, Basundai said, speaking with emotion for the first time. On the 21st day, the father must see the boy, but not in the flesh. In a mirror, Pandit? I would consider that ill-advised. Use a brass plate. Scour it well. Of course. You must fill this brass plate with coconut oil, which, by the way, you must make yourself from the coconuts you have collected with your own hands. And in the reflection on this oil, the father must see the boy's face. He tied the almanac together and rolled it in a red cotton wrapper, which also spattered with sandalwood paste. I believe that is all. We forgot one thing, Panditji, the name. M.O. It is up to you to think of something to add to that. Oh, Panditji, you must help me. I can only think of Han. The Pandit was surprised and genuinely pleased. But that is excellent. Excellent. Mohan. I couldn't have chosen better myself. For Mohan, as you know, means the beloved, and was the name given to the milkmaids, by the milkmaids to Lord Krishna. Okay, Mohan. His eyes softened at the thought of the legend, and for a moment he appeared to forget Basundai and Mr. Biswas. From the knot at the end of her veil, Basundai took out a florin and offered it to the Pandit, mumbling her regrets that she could not give more. The Pandit said that she had done her best and was not to worry. In fact, he was pleased. He had expected less. Crazy. Sorry, my bad. I am reading A House for Mr. Biswas. I was just getting to the end of there was a lot of bookmarks. It's called A House for Mr. Biswas. Apparently it's a winner for Nobel Prize in Literature. My dad read it, and now it's from the library. And so I was like, hey, sorry about that. I should put notifications on. Or put the sound on. But yeah, pay better attention to chat now. Hey, we're getting there. You know. I'm doing it like a book club. Not like a book club, but I'm using the streams to record my thoughts on the book. It seems easier that way. I tried writing it down, but then now you stop reading to write things down and then you forget where you were. Know what I'm trying to do. Appreciate it. My grandpa's outside. He might be going for a cigarette. We don't know. Follow up. I'm gonna be reading a lot of books. Not a lot of books. We'll see. Right now the dopamine is hitting, so I'm cooking. But feel free. Background noise. If you're interested in it, read it with, and then we're gonna talk about it. Well, I'm gonna be talking about it as I stop. I'm commenting. You're commenting. So far, bro has been cursed. Not cursed, but we don't know if this pundit is like being for real or not. I'm always hesitant. Always hesitant. Okay. Mr. Biswas lost. He was 9 years old. It simply came off one night, and Bipti had an unpleasant turn when, shaking out the sheets one morning, she saw the tiny finger tumble to the ground. Whoa. Oh. Basundai thought this an excellent sign. He's gardening. He's like gardening or he's smoking. One of the two. He's he's green fingered. He's green fingered for sure. I think this is a picture of the house. Basically, the bro loves his house. Is his house like cool? To him, yes, and you've got to respect that. You've got to love it. Yeah, yeah, but we're getting there. That was the prologue. I'll probably upload these videos. Gramps is outside for real, for real. Also, South Africa are playing the World Cup today, and that's where we are in this. uh, open of the house, not far from where she had buried Mr. Biswas's navel string. In the days that followed, Mr. Biswas was treated with attention and respect. His brothers and sisters were slapped if and the were regarded as he was royal. This is like peak like Indian culture, bruh. All his joints were exercised. His arms and legs were folded diagonally across his red shining body. The big toe of his right foot was made to touch his left shoulder. Oh my god. And the big toe on his left foot was made to touch his right shoulder. And both toes were made to touch his nose. Finally, all his limbs were bunched together over his belly, and then, with a clap and a laugh, released. Mr. Biswas responded well to these exercises, and Basundai became so confident that she decided to have a celebration on the 9th day. She invited people from the village and fed them. The pundit came and was unexpectedly gracious, though his manner suggested that, but for his intervention, there would have been no celebration at all. Jagru, the barber, brought his drum and Selochan did the Shiva dance in the cow pen, his body smeared all over with ash. Okay. There was an unpleasant moment when Raghu, Mr. Biswas's father, appeared. He had walked. His dhoti and jacket was sweated and dead. TV went off. TV went off. Here we go. There was an unpleasant moment when Raghu, Mr. Biswas's father, appeared. He walked. His dhoti and jacket was sweated and dusty. Well, this is very nice, he said. Celebrating. And where? Leave. This is. Leave this house at once, Basundai said, coming out of the kitchen at the side. Father? What sort of father do you have when you she gets heavy for son? God has paid you and see your son. 6 fingers in the wrong way. Go in. They hopping on 6 fingers. Okay. Like you can only see him on the 21st day. If you do anything stupid now, the responsibility will be yours. From his string bed, the old man muttered abuse at Raghu. Shameless, wicked. When I see the behavior of this man, I begin to feel that the black age has come. The subsequent quarrel and threats cleared the air. Raghu confessed he had been in the wrong and had already suffered much for it. Bhupti said she was willing to go back to him, and he agreed to come again on the 21st day. To prepare for that day, Busundai began collecting dry coconuts. She husked them, grated the kernels, and set about extracting the oil the Pandit had prescribed. It was a long job of boiling, skimming, and boiling again, and it was surprising how many coconuts it took to make a little oil. But the oil was ready in time, and Raghu came, neatly dressed, his hair plastered flat and shining, his moustache trimmed, and he was very correct as he took off his hat and went into the dark inner room of the hut, which smelled warmly of oil and old thatch. His face and from his head was held face downwards over. He didn't like it. Shut his eyes, remember, Wagwan. Was held downwards. He didn't like it. He furrowed his forehead, shut his eyes tight, and bawled. The oil rippled, clear. Amber broke up the reflection of Mr. Biswas's face, already distorted with rage, and the viewing was over. A few days later, Bhupti and her children returned home, and there Mr. Biswas's importance steadily diminished. The time came when even the daily massage ceased. But he still carried weight. They never forgot that he was an unlucky child and that his sneeze was particularly unlucky. Mr. Biswas caught cold easily and in the rainy season threatened his family with destitution. If, before Raghu left for the sugar estate, Mr. Biswas sneezed, Raghu remained at home, worked on his vegetable garden in the morning and spent the afternoon making walking sticks and sabots, or carving designs on the halves of cutlasses and the heads of walking sticks. His favourite design was of a pair of Wellingtons. He had never owned Wellingtons, but he had seen them on the Overseer. Whatever he did, Raghu never left the house. Even so, minor mishaps often followed Mr. Biswas's sneeze. 3 pence lost in the shopping, the brain bottle. Mr. Biswas sneezed on 3 mornings. Once Mr. Biswas sneezed on 3 mornings in succession. I also think the focusing on the sneezing is not helping the case out here. But we will see, okay? This boy will eat up his family in truth, Raghu said. One morning, just after Raghu had crossed the gutter that ran between the road and the yard. But I had heard him, distinctly. Bhupti persuaded him to go to work. After an hour or 2 later, while she was cleaning the rice for the midday meal, she heard shouts from the road and went out to find Raghu lying in an ox cart, his right leg swathed in bloody bandages. He was groaning not from pain, but from anger. The man who had brought him refused to help him into the yard. Mr. Biswa's sneeze was too well known. Raghu had to limp in, leaning on Bhupti's shoulder. This boy will make us all paupers, Raghu said. He spoke from a deep fear, though he saved and made himself and his family go without many things. He never ceased to feel that destitution was very nearly upon him. The more he hoarded, the more he felt he had wasted and to lose. The more he hoarded, the more he felt he had to waste and to lose, and the more careful he became. Every Saturday, he lined up with the other labourers outside the state. Oh, I might need a charger. Okay, what are we gonna do now? I need to charge the phone. Where are my bookmarks, goddammit? Oh, okay. What are you doing? What are you up to? Where are you from, Jamal? Is this homies? Sorry, as you can tell, I'm a bit in the world of Mr. Biswas. I'm gonna draw his house for real, as you can see from the. Even got some like. Okay, but that's a deal. Ooh. Charger. Do you think it could reach from here? Nah, it won't reach, but I can just move that ish around a little bit. What are we not using right now? The camera. Ooh. Boom. Oh, we're cooking. I can see again. Okay. Now we're going at the side, I guess. I don't know. What I can do is here, I guess. Oh, that's low key. Okay. Every Saturday he lined up with the other labourers outside the estate office to collect his pay. The overseer sat at a little table on which his khaki cork hat rested, wasteful of space, but a symbol of wealth. On his left sat the Indian clerk, important, stern, precise, with small neat hands that wrote small neat figures in black ink and red ink in the tall ledger. As the clerk entered figures and called out names and amounts in his high, precise voice, the overseer selected coins from the columns of silver and the heaps of copper in front of him, and, with a greater deliberation, extracted notes from the blue $1 stacks, the smaller red $2 stack, and the very shallow green $5 stack. Few labourers earned $5 a week. The notes were there to pay those who were collecting their wives' or husbands' wages as well as their own. Around the overseer's cork hat, and seemingly to guard it, there were stiff blue paper bags, neatly serrated at the top, printed with large figures, and standing upright from the weight of coin inside them. Clean round perforations gave glimpses of the coin, and Raghu had been told, allowed it to breathe. These bags fascinated Raghu. He had managed to get a few, and after many months and a little cheating, turning a shilling into 12 pennies, for example, he had filled them. Thereafter, he had never been able to stop. No one, not even Bhupti, knew where he hid these bags, but the word had got around that he buried his money and was possibly the richest man in the village. Such talk alarmed Raghu, and to counter it, he increased his austerities. Crazy. I think I'm gonna get to chapter 2 and then I'm gonna take a break. Mr. Biswas grew. The limbs that had been massaged and oiled twice a day now remained dusty and muddy and unwashed for days. The malnutrition that had given him the sixth finger of misfortune pursued him now with eczema and sores that swelled and scabbed and burst again until they stank. His ankles and knees and wrists and elbows were in particular afflicted, and the sores left marks like vaccination scars. Malnutrition gave him the shallowest of chests, the thinnest of limbs. It stunted his growth and gave him a soft rising belly. And yet, perceptibly, he grew. He was never aware of being hungry. It never bothered him that he didn't go to school. Life was unpleasant only because the pundit had forbidden him to go near ponds and the rivers. Raghu was an excellent swimmer, and Bhakti wished him